Hey traders, welcome to my recap here for my Emini S&P 500 ES futures trading for Thursday, June 16th. And just a few points on the day. I got things kind of zoomed out here, so we actually had some pretty big swings, and there's quite a few bars being printed, so a little bit easier to see everything. But right off the bat, I could say with this one that this is a day that I actually wasn't too happy with the result, and that's not something that happens normally. It's I've talked about this in prior recaps that for me, I focus a lot less on kind of that day-to-day profit or loss, whether I made 3 points, whether I made 10, whether I lost a point. That doesn't matter as much to me. What matters to me is that I executed my plan well, and that I took good trades, and that I managed them well, and without emotion, just kind of based on the objective information the market is offering at the time. And this is one of the kind of rare days that, looking back, I wasn't too happy with kind of my performance. Definitely made a couple mistakes. There's some things I probably could have traded a little bit better, and that's part of the learning process as a trader, and it never really ends. I mean, I've done this for over a decade now. It was 12 years basically, where I've been trading, and there's still always things you can learn. There's still always ways you can improve, and that's part of the fun of the business and part of the enjoyment of it that makes it something you kind of want to do day after day. But it was a day that I kind of went in, not as well prepared, in the sense that I didn't get, great sleep the night before, and that, it's no different than sports or something like that. If you're not feeling kind of at your best, a lot of times performance is impacted a little bit. So still, an okay result, but definitely something that probably should have traded a fair bit better. And so just thought I would share that with you guys, because I think it's kind of important to realize that that is sometimes the reality of trading, and I think it's important again to have that focus less on the outcome for a daily result, on points gained or lost, but really how you performed, how well you executed. We had actually had a pretty good run down earlier on. I tried to get some shorts in that run down, had some no fills in there, which was a little bit unfortunate as well, because I would have been able to take advantage of some of the moves to the downside. We finally had a little bit of a break here, and it was a fairly high momentum one, and broke quite cleanly. Now, there's always a risk after you've got some trending action, you enter into consolidation, and then attempt to trend again, that it may be a false break scenario. And that can happen because market players are attempting to sort of trap traders. The more of a move that you get, the higher momentum the break is, the better chance it is to get some continuation. So I don't mind this loss here. I think that's an all right one. That's something that I'm willing to give up that 5 ticks, that 1.25 points, in order to look for potentially 3 or 4 points, maybe even more, just because of the way that the market had been trending. We'd already run a pretty long ways, though, so it wasn't a huge surprise to see this fail, but that's a worthwhile risk. The one sort of nice thing, in a way, when these sort of false breaks occur, is because there are trapped traders in here that go short, and now to kind of get out of their positions, they ultimately have to go long. A lot of times they do lead to good directional moves the other way. They often will test the other side of the range, and sometimes go beyond that, as we saw here. So I did want to go the other way. Momentum was kind of minimal, as you can see here, a lot of consolidation. So being more careful, more conservative, essentially having a little bit of an inverted head and shoulders in here. So trading a little bit more off the level, off the area that had held with a bit of consolidation, a little bit of volume before. So being a bit more conservative there, but worked out quite nicely with a push up. Again, I'm going against most of the flows from earlier in the day. You can see the big trend line here. So wasn't going to be too greedy if we couldn't push right up into that level right away, and I just took the 2 points that were available. Eventually did push up, but I was okay with that. And then this one here is probably one of the more disappointing ones, just because we had a really clear level here, and we just kind of pulled back a little bit too deeply within it, got taken out right on the edge before things moved back. Sometimes I'm able to kind of latch back onto these because I really like the level here for continuation, but it's one that, kind of in hindsight's 2020, probably should have been a bit more conservative on, just because the momentum here was, quite limited. And so it is one of those things. I mean, you can go back and you can look at your charts after, and it's very clear, very obvious exactly what you should have done. So you can't necessarily, completely fault yourself if you have something like that. It is the reality of trading that sometimes you're going to get taken out on the edge, and you'll take a loss, and the market will go without you. But it's not something to get too worried about in most cases. But I think this is one that probably could have been traded a little bit better because we'd already come back a little bit deeper here. So it's not really a surprise to see things come back a little bit deeper again, just the way the kind of market behavior was going and the way that things were a little bit more limited in terms of the grindy behavior to the upside. But from there wasn't really a great chance to trade, even though we got some good swings. And I stuck around, just actually trading here for basically a few hours in this on this chart. Kind of stuck around looking for another good trade because we were moving nicely, we were swinging nicely. So I expected that, if I stuck around, I'd be able to find another good trade in here somewhere. And as we pull back into here, price getting pretty extended, but I was more concerned with there not being anything to really trade off of here. This is a big run, kind of an open space that price can retrace into really quite easily without finding much in the way of buyers. And notice that there's a pretty big difference between this move and this move here, even though they look similar in terms of kind of the way they were pushing aggressively to the upside. This one has a very nice area to trade off of, adding some confluence to the trade, a place where buyers can step in, where that demand can step into the market and push things back up. So, definitely a possibility of a little bit of a deeper pullback here, but something to kind of get in the way that made this a worthwhile opportunity. Now, with the extra risk here, just the way that things had pulled back a bit more, I was aiming for a little bit more in terms of a target, taking it up to the level, but worked out quite nicely. So with that, hopefully come back into tomorrow's market a little bit more well-rested and trading a little bit more effectively. We've had a week that has definitely had some good days. We've had days like yesterday that was a little bit slower, but overall an okay one. And we've been seeing some pretty good Fridays lately. So hopefully be able to end it on a really positive note, have a nice result, and put together a good week overall. So that's it for now, guys. Thanks for watching. See you in the next recap.